any entrepreneur knows failure is to be expected at some point, or little disappointments is to be expected at some point. So.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Pivot Podcast. This is a brand new season, brand new flow, because we have our new host finally here in the hot seat. We got my boy Dean rocking with us going forward with the podcast. Dean, how are you?
I'm very good, Dan. Very honored to be here, and again, to do this alongside a good buddy of mine. It should be good for me, and let's see what I can produce, right?
Yeah, I told Tracy, I believe in the last episode, I was like, listen, there's no replacement, Tracy. It's we can only bring in people that fit, that trade, that have good life experiences, but it's not a replacement. It's just a different style, different way of having the Pivot Podcast. So I'm super psyched to bring you in. And again, we get a new perspective. I think we ran myself and Tracy for about 2 years, just about 2 years, if not about there. So, I look forward to a solid another 2 years, and we have different perspectives and different views. We trade different things, so I'm pretty pumped.
Yeah, again, look, I'm a massive fan of the podcast, and I've listened to every episode, by the way, especially when I'm working out in a gym. This is what I listen to. So I'm hoping we can last 2 years. I'm not sure. It depends on. I can't replace Tracy. She set the bar so high, and now I feel like we're scraping the barrel. It was more of a case where who's available, and everyone else is busy with their lives. And luckily, I didn't have nothing going on. So here I am.
You were the fifth call. Yep, you were the fifth call we made to get you on the show. So I'm glad. I'm glad you had nothing else going on. No, I appreciate you being here. So tell us, because some people in, especially the real life trading community, they know obviously who you are. But obviously we have listeners from all over the place. Who are you? That's what I'm going to start with. Who are you, Dean?
Dan, that is a question I'm still asking myself every single day of the week. Who am I? I really don't know. But I suppose I'll start from the beginning. I was born and raised in London, England, hence the reason why I have a very silly accent. But that's where I started off life. I have a beautiful wife, and I have to say that because she's probably listening. 3 children who sometimes I question if they're human or just sent here to really just test me and my patience, which has helped my trading actually. Patience with children helps with patience in trades. My background was I was quite fortunate actually coming out of school. I signed professional football terms in the UK. You guys call it soccer for some strange reason. But I played football from the age of 16 up until I was 22. And then one day I went up for a header, came down and landed flat-footed, and I damaged my disc in my back. So it was a hard task, and I tried to come back and play again, but the doctor said it's not going to heal and we're going to get worse. So I had to figure out what else to do with my life, and sometimes they say it's who you know rather than what you know. And fortunately, my family knew some people who worked at Barclays Capital, investment banking in the city, in Canary Wharf. He was the fixed income director. So I was lucky to go and work with them for a few years doing investor relations, marketing and things like that. And it got to the point where I figured I was working harder than I should be for a lot less money than I felt I deserved. So I decided to quit and start my own business in marketing. And family wasn't too happy. They pulled a lot of strings to get me there, apparently, but it wasn't my problem. So I left and I started a marketing business. Eventually, that marketing business turned into a recruitment business. And me and my partners at the time, from startup, built a company that turned over 3.5 million with a net EBIT of 1 million, which we were then bought out by a bigger private equity firm. And that was my corporate experience. And then we decided to move to Spain. And I say we decided, my wife decided, because this is where she grew up and her family live out here. So I had no choice once I had no commitments in
That's pretty much borderline kidnapping for sure. in regards to the markets, how? So now, I mean, you sold the company. What drew you to the markets? What was appealing to getting started trading?
This is a very strange story. When I sold my company, I worked for a private equity firm for 3 years doing an earn-out. So at the time, I was very naive. I didn't understand the difference between deferred payments and earn-out, which I learned the hard way. So I ended up working harder for the company that I just sold for people that now who bought my company were my employers. So I did that for a few years, and then once we got our bonus, we relocated. And the plan was just to start another business. So I started what I knew back into marketing and started to try and build that business. Unfortunately, Dan, it didn't go too well, and we lost a lot. A lot of savings was invested into a company that was hemorrhaging money, and we lost basically near enough everything that we had trying to make this business work, and it didn't work. So one day I was just sitting there depressed with myself, and this is what I typed into Google. This is no word of a lie. Ask my wife, we'll get her on the show and she'll confirm it. I didn't want to speak to anyone because I came from being a high flyer. My first business was a success, and then my second business is crashed and burned. And I typed in, what can I do to earn money that I don't have to speak to anyone? That was my Google search. And there was other stuff that come up, and one of them was trading. And I was like, you know what? I had some investments, and like everyone does in the past, without trading, I just thought, have longer term stuff. And I thought, okay, let me explore that. And I started researching that. I was on YouTube, and then I was on. I can't think what it was now. I think it was like. I don't know if it was. I can't think what the program was. Anyway, some channel on YouTube had Jeremy Newsom as a guest, and I was like, this guy at this stage in my life is the parallel opposite to me. He was high energy, he was enthusiastic, he had a zest for life, and I just wanted to have the whole world just to swallow me up. So I was like, look, if I can just get 2% of what this guy has, then I'll be okay. So he mentioned real life trading. I binge watched every single course, all the free courses, went through that, and I just felt like before I want to join the community, being British, so us British people, and anyone who's from the UK will understand that we are very sceptical people. So for everyone saying, look, listen, you've got all the information you come and join our community, which was X amount at the time. We can all trade together. I'm like, I need to understand if this Jeremy Newsom guy is real. So, I read this book, Retire on 3K, and he said, here's my number, here's my telephone number. I was like, okay, cool. So I WhatsApped him. Now I was expecting some robot to come back or one of his admin staff, because I nearly signed up for another trading company previously, but I was hounded by sales guys, like hounded to the point where I was like, no, this is not for me. Lo and behold, the phone rings, and all I hear is this like American voice, and it was Jeremy. Like Jeremy called me because I like to tell me a story, tell me what's going on. So we ended up he found out I was in marketing. So we ended up doing an exchange in services. He would coach me, and I would help RLT with their marketing. And that was nearly 4 years ago now. So that's what drew me to the markets in a roundabout way.
Gotcha. Now I know you mentioned kids. Did you start trading prior to having kids, or was it after?
After. Yeah, biggest mistake of my life. But trading with kids, not having the kids. A bit of both. A bit of both. They're too young to listen to these programs anyway. So by the time they get mature, they will be long deleted off the air, so I can say what I want about them. No, it was after my children. I just really wanted that. I've never had freedom and the money, because as an entrepreneur or startup entrepreneur, you're basically employed by your business. So whatever you put in, you get out. And I wanted to try and find that balance. And hence the reason was another appeal for trading. But so I had that. I started trading after my children, and I started trading stocks, which I don't know why, Dan, but I was never consistent with stocks. I don't know why, even to this day. I still try and dabble every so often. I can't. I just don't get it. It just doesn't click for me. But when I found Forex, that's when things just started to progress on.
Yeah, it is strange, because there's definitely instruments that people just feel better with. Same thing in the crypto markets. Like, there's great crypto traders, which I'm not one of them. Like I don't really trade crypto. I'll buy some of the big names. I'll hold them, see what happens.
Yeah.
5 years from now, it'll just be at zero, I'm sure. But regardless, I'm prepared for that. But there's really good crypto traders. They know all the different smaller names that are popping and they're running. But for me, I think it's difficult getting into a crypto space just because I'm not used to the moves, right? So it happens just so quickly. Once I'm like, okay, I have enough. Like it runs another 100% after that, and it's just wild. It's just definitely different than trading the stock market. So same thing with Forex. Forex was one of probably not the first thing. I think I got into stocks before I got to Forex, but I was the opposite of you. I was trading Forex, and I was just like, I don't like it. It was just the time difference was like I was up till 2 a.m. I was like, okay, now is the entry. And I was like, I'm not sleeping because I'll wake up, trade stocks the next day. I was like, I got to give something up. And it was just, I think the timing, which for you, I mean, again, maybe the stocks are a little bit different of time zone. And I mean, that all could affect some of the trades.
I think that could be the case. Now, just me being me, I'm a morning person. So by the time the US stock market opens, it's like 3:30 in the afternoon for me. My kids are coming home from school. You know, the wine bottle is already starting to call me dad if I'm honest. I'm like, I can't concentrate on what's going on with these stocks because, it's nearly 5 o'clock and I need to open up a cork. Where I think in Forex for me, I can trade it whenever I want. I can trade the London Open, which I do like. But it just clicked. And I was never really, Jeremy got me onto Forex as well, by the way. Like he said, look into Forex. It's a big market in there, especially for the UK. And it just clicked. For some reason, it just clicked. And even to this day, all of my profitable trades come from Forex, a little bit of futures. Nothing. I'm very rarely profitable when I trade stocks. So I have made that decision not to trade them at all anymore. I'll invest in them, but not trade it.
What about the transition from running your own company, being an entrepreneur to trading? How do you think that running your own company has prepared you for trading?
I think any entrepreneur knows failure is to be expected at some point, or little disappointments is to be expected at some point. So, and I think it's the same with trading. So for me, it's every time I set up a trade, I just expect to lose. I don't know why that is. I just think I'm setting up this trade, I'm already preparing myself to lose. So I think you get used to being wrong and then taking that and using that as your strength. So being wrong is a strength of yours because when things do go right, you can move on from it. You don't dwell on it and start high-fiving the room and just move on, right? So I think being an entrepreneur and having, because even though we did really well with our first business, there was ups and downs at the time. It's like at some point, we were using something called a factoring facility where we would have invoices that have not been paid, but we had to pay staff, and we went from 0 to having 88 staff in 2 different countries, Germany and the UK. So we had to somehow figure that piece out, and I think trading's the same. It's like, okay, you have entry point, you need to figure out where your stop loss is, not too tight, especially in Forex, where you don't want it to, because it's huge liquidity grabs. So you need to account for that and try not to let it have a bias on the trade that you're trying to be successful in. So I think most of the people that I coach, they are business owners, and I think it toughens them up for that. It toughens them up for the losses. They're able to get over losses a lot quicker than the so-called, if you don't mind me being honest, but the engineers that I coach. Engineers, They need numbers and why did that not work, and how can that be improved? It's like, let's just get on. Move on to the next one. And I think that's what anyone who's been in sales, marketing, owning the business, I think they make good traders. Yeah.
So I have the same background where I ran a business for, 15, 16 years. Still technically have it, but I wouldn't even call it a business at this point. Just if people call me, great. If they don't, I'll take off. But they keep calling me. I don't understand. But regardless, I think because anytime you own a business, like you're out to obviously make money, you're trying to grow the business, hire new people, but with all of that, there's cost involved. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs understand, like everybody hears the phrase, it takes money to make money. And you understand, like, okay, yeah, I'm making $1 million a year in the business, but my expenses are 1.2 million, right? And you're like, okay, I'm losing money to grow the business, or I'm investing in this. Where if somebody goes, hey, a business is making $1 million and just that's all they get, like, oh, this guy's doing great, right? And it's a different concept. And I think the engineers, they're very more intricate as far as the technicals of things. And I think people that maybe have not run a business, I'm not saying everybody, but people that have not run a business, they have to get used to that loss concept, where not everything you do is going to turn into a profit, right? You're going to have to spend money. You're going to have to take a losing trade in order to get to the winning trade. And I think that's a concept that people have to really kind of, I don't think you could really understand it unless you experience it, right? You have to take those losses. You have to have the mentality of persevering and really fighting through a lot of those losses and the mental aspect of the game in order to say, I've done this before. I've been here before. This is what I'm doing. And every business owner, I mean, at least successful business owners, have gone through those trials and tribulations of, okay, I'm making more money. I need to grow a little bit more. I need to hire people. I need spending more on advertising. I need to spend money on travel, trade shows, all these different expenses in order to see that profit. And I think that's a certain degree that I think entrepreneurs might have as a little bit of a head start coming into the market, as opposed to a school teacher or a police officer who just gets salary pay, and like it's just that risk element was never there before, and they have to kind of develop that portion of it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think again, not to generalize, but entrepreneurs normally, or business owners normally, are in love with the process or the game. That they understand what the process is, what they need to do, and they're so focused on the end goal that they're not too concerned with the intermediary. And I think that, again, is the same way with trading. You fall in love with trading first and fall in love with the process, and then those people that do that often go on to be profitable. The people who want instant gratification or instant results are the ones that fail. The people who want to start a business and instantly be able to go and buy themselves or leverage their business so much they can go and buy a Lamborghini so they can impress their friends. The same people don't want to do that with trading. They want to get there as quick as possible without having to put in the time or the back trading or whatever. I think that's where the true entrepreneur / true trader becomes successful, when they think, okay, this is a process, you learn from your mistakes, and then you move on. And there was a saying that I think I heard somewhere in the real life trading community, where trading is the only profession where you lose money every day, right? If you're not successful. But I think business is the same. You lose money as a business. So I think I would disagree with that argument to whoever said that. I apologize. I still love everyone in the real life trading community. But someone said that, I can't think of who it was, and I did disagree with that a little bit, because, you know, as a business, you can lose money, but hence the reason why businesses go bankrupt. So basically, long story short, Dan, good business owners make good traders. I think.
I agree, and I do think there's some element where a lot of times I'll see people that treat trading like a business, and I think that's where real life trading shines probably a little bit more than some of the other trading platforms, even educational platforms, things like that. There could be other good education companies out there. I don't know exactly which ones. I don't even have one at the top of my head, but that's also from the lack of me really. I mean, after I found real life trading, I was like, okay, this is where I need to be. But besides the education, like you could teach the education, but if you're not teaching how to set it up as a business, how to really control the risk, you could go on YouTube at pretty much any hour any of the markets are open, and some guy is trading live, and he's going, okay, I'm getting in here. But anybody that just repeats that trade is doomed. The trade could work, the trade could lose, but you don't know how much he's risking. He knows why he's taking a certain amount of risk. He knows why he's putting a certain amount of shares out there as opposed to a different style trade. There's a lot that goes into it that you're not really seeing. All you're seeing is, okay, I'm getting in here. Even if they explain why, there's a hammer, there's volume. I like the breakthrough of a certain level. Those are all good key things to know. But if you don't have the business element of it, you don't have that written out day trading plan, you're just out there throwing money at any marketing company that calls you to say, hey, advertise with us, and we promise we'll get you more customers, right? And we're going to increase your SEO based on and you're like, okay, so the last guy said that, and nothing ever happened. You're just burning money at that point. So you have to understand, I think, for traders that really, like, if you trade the markets for fun, great. I mean, more power to you. If you're still learning and you're just trying to learn the technicals, great. But to some extent, I think until you really say, you know what, this is something I could actually do full time, whether you want to or not, anytime you take a trade, it should be following your business plan, the same business plan that any entrepreneur should have on their company as far as strategy and how I spend money, where I take risks. And I think if people can incorporate that and really understand it's a true business, they're better set to succeed in the market as opposed to be dwindling it for a little bit and then eventually just close the doors.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think it's like you have to be professional. It's about being professional. You know, when I used to play, should I call it soccer or football? Dan, you decide. I don't know. Should I call it soccer, football?
That's a tough one because we're also going to have people in the UK listening, and then they're going to get upset if we call it soccer. So. Since I never played either one, I'll let you determine. And just going forward, we'll throw a little asterisk for future episodes. Anytime you say soccer, anytime you say football, it's soccer.
Right. Let's just we'll leave it there. Every time I say football, it's soccer. Okay, this everyone knows. But so when we used to play football, our games were normally on the weekend, on a Saturday. But we used to train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was our day off. Thursday, Friday training, and then Saturday was game day. And even before game day, we had a warm up and to get ourselves ready, prepared to what we had to do on match day. And I think trading has to really be the same. You have to put in some time before the markets go live to back trade. You have to get yourself warmed up and get your brain looking for your patterns that you look for, or whatever indicators that you're using. And then when you're ready to go live, then you're prepared. And I think once I started to digest that rather than have, look, this is a quick way of making money, which I was guilty of plenty of times. Even now, sometimes I think, let's just mark it and they're here and see if I can do something right. But, I was guilty of that. And I think once you step away from that mindset and then decide, look, I have to be professional. If I want this to be, whether you want it to be full-time or not, but if you want to be profitable, then you still have to treat it as you still have to treat it like a professional.
Yeah, I agree. What can you take away from being a professional athlete that was able to really set you up in the market?
I think the same way being an athlete prepared me for being a business owner is that you just fall in love with what you do. So you're like, okay, and you're competitive, right? So if you get something wrong, it's like, why did that go wrong? Let me figure that part out so I can then be better at that, and that won't, affect me on the next trade. And it was like that. I started off playing centre midfield, which is right in the centre of the park, and then I started playing on the right hand side when I was playing football. And I used to either be a 9 out of 10 or a 3 out of 10. It was like, I was either going to be the best player on the pitch or I might as well not have turned up. This is how I was. And if I had one of these games where I was just terrible, I was always trying to figure out why I was like that. So trading, and I tell you how else I can liken it, and as any people who play golf would definitely understand with this. In my head, I do the same swing every time. I'm a massive golf fan, by the way, Dan. But same swing every single time. And I still get varied results, and I can't figure that out. So I go down the driving range, and I'll hit 100 balls. I just think, okay, I just want to make that more consistent. Trading was the same. You could look at it and think, the same setup, what I did yesterday worked, and today it didn't. Is there anything that I'm missing? Go back test. And it becomes obsessive to that point. And I think that's what being an athlete or a business owner is that you strive for perfection, even though perfection doesn't exist. But that doesn't stop you from having that work ethic to try and achieve that. And I think that's where, and you have to be careful with that as well, because having an obsession can become unhealthy. And when I first started trading, I think I went 3 days without showering because I was just in front of my laptop. I was like, no, I'm not moving. I'm here. I'm just going to figure this part out. So one of the things that I implemented was scheduling my time. and that was recommended to me by Matt DeLong, the CTO of Real Life Trading. He's like, look, just set certain hours where you trade, and if your setup doesn't occur, then move on. And I think so. That's how I sort of curbed that obsession. But yeah, I think it's just being a competitor and just trying to become better at everything that you do is what I think what has made me profitable, I think.
Yeah, I've noticed you talked a lot, which is a different perspective, I think, than especially a lot of new people trading. But you talked a lot about loving the process. You never once mentioned loving the wins, loving the losses, right? I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think if you love what you do, if you're the type of person that wants to continuously get a better golf swing, right? And you're just out there because you're just trying to improve the technique. You're trying to you love what's happening in the market. You love understanding the sentiment. You want to know more about why a trade didn't work. There's plenty of people that take trades, it doesn't work, or it does work, and then they move on. They're trying to find their next trade, and they forget they even took that trade. Why? Right? Even if a trade works, I mean, go back. Why did it work? What can you take from that trade that will catapult your next trade or keep you away from your next trade? So I think there's a lot to be said with just that mentality alone of just love the process, right? The gains will come. If you're good at something, if you're focused on your day-to-day activities, your day-to-day, how do I continue to improve? The gains, the profit, the long-term consistency, all of that is a result of loving what you do, loving the process. And once you get that process down and you're just like, okay, I just need to make, it doesn't matter how much money you want to make. It doesn't matter how much money you are making. The money all comes eventually, right? And I think it's kind of like Kobe Bryant just wakes up every day and he hits the gym before the rest of the team shows up. He's there after. Like the amount of work he put in on television, people just, oh, Kobe, he was a great basketball player. He was killing it. But it's the little extra work that people do because he loved the game. It wasn't like, yeah, obviously your goal is to win, but you can't control if you win or lose. All you can control is what you put into a trade, right? Or into a setup or how often you're trading. All of that goes into you becoming better each and every day at what you do and not worrying about so much of, okay, if we're able to get $1 million this year, I'm going to be great. $1 million divided by 12, I need this much per week. I need this much per minute. Like those people focusing more on the end goal than the actual process, I think they have to just shift their mind, right? They have to have a little reset of what they're actually doing, and I think that will help go a long way with a lot of those traders.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that comes down to the current generation, and I'm part of that because I'm still young, I like to think. Like the instant gratification. Like people want instant results, that microwave society, right? Okay, like I put this in, I want instant results. So, and they're the people who need to question why do they want that. And I get that everyone wants a better life and they want more money, but you have to understand, and that's really cliche, but you have to understand why you want more money. You have to understand why you want a bigger house or a bigger car or a better car. And once you can identify that, then it's easy to fall in love with the process because then you know if you're doing it for the right or the wrong reasons. And, you know,
it helps.
It's my 2 cents.
No, 100%. It helps pad it helps to make not the losses not hurt as bad, right? So some people go, oh, I just lost on a trade and their mentality's blown for the rest of the day and that's it. But if you understand, like, well, not every trade, I know I'm not going to be out there swinging 100% every single time I get up to bat. But I know if I take the loss, as long as I'm losing more than I'm winning, like eventually that goal that I have of what you said, identify first why you're even doing anything that you do. Like everyone should have a purpose as to why they get involved, why they want to get involved. And if you understand like that loss is just you working toward your goal, the psychological, it doesn't mess you up as much on that one loss than is if you were like, okay, I just needed I needed to make $10,000 every single day, and now I'm down $2,000. Now I got to go $12,000 for the rest of the day and try to make it all up today. Just relax. Like the money will come, the better setups will come, the better trading days will come, and just kind of keep putting one foot in front of the other and just walk down the path, because it's right in front of you, right? You just have to stay on the course. But yeah, that looks like we are just about out of time for this episode of the Real Life Trading Pivot Podcast. Thank you, Dean, for joining, stepping in. I look forward to all of the future conversations that we get to have, and the incredible wealth of knowledge that will come out of the next few seasons of the Pivot Podcast. Thank you guys for joining us each and every week. And check out some of the links below if you want to see some more information about coaching, if you want to see some more information about free education from real life trading. And again, if you guys have questions, feel free to email us at those links as well. Until next time, we will see you guys later.